Welcome everyone to another GoDaddy Pro Makers of the Web meetup. My name is Marcus Burnett, and I hope everyone's having a good week so far. Today we have the pleasure of having one of my friends back on here to share a particular feature of editing with blocks inside WordPress. Bud Kraus is joining me today, and he is the Chief Education Officer at Joy of WP. Welcome to the meetup, Bud. How are you doing today?
Marcus, I'm doing good. I hope everybody can hear me. I still have my squeaky chair I have to get rid of. So
We
try
can
not
hear
to.
you and the chair a little bit, but you're
It's
coming
not a
in loud and
mouse.
clear.
It's the chair. And as far, I also have the. It's really hot over here in Nutley, New Jersey today. So I've got the AC on in my room, and hopefully that's not a problem either. Right?
Nope, can't hear the AC. You're
Okay.
good.
So let's get cracking because we've got a lot to go over. Let me turn on the screen share, and there'll be plenty of opportunity to do Q&A at the end. I don't
Yeah,
think
well,
it's going to be.
while you're getting the screen share set up there, I will just let everyone here that's joining us know that this is being recorded. So if you want to share this with your team later, we'll have the recording available for you. We'll make sure to
Let's see.
email that to you at the email address that you used to register. And like you mentioned, we'll have some Q&A at the end. So please
Yeah.
do leave your questions in the chat. I'll be monitoring the chat as we go along,
All right.
and we'll have some time to answer questions at the end.
Make sure. Can you see my screen okay?
Yep, doing
Okay.
great. If you want to hit that little
I
hide
do.
hide
I
on the little bar there,
Okay.
that'll get that on out of the way.
Back to get this stuff going. How's this?
Yep, looks great.
Okay. All right. So let's roll. So today I'm going to talk about the query loop block, and you know, it the name shouldn't throw you for a loop, but if it does, I don't blame you. My name is Bud Kraus, and we'll do a quick little survey here. I don't know how many people are here, but let's just get that survey done right now. And so in the chat box, I want you to type in the number that corresponds to your situation. Number one, I still use the classic editor. Okay. So, in other words, the old style way of doing things, the tiny MCE, it looks like a word processor editor. Are you still using that? Number two, I have used the Gutenberg block editor. Okay. So I want to know if anybody, I would assume some people here have. And number three, I have used full site editing, which is also part of the Gutenberg project. So I'll give you all of 1 second to type in the chat box which one or ones of these apply to you. And Marcus, you have to tabulate. Do we have anything to tabulate?
Yeah, we do have a few coming in. Mickey
Okay.
says 2, Robin 3, Rick 2, David 2. I answered 1 and 2 for myself. And David says, not sure what full site editing is. So if you want to
Okay.
touch on that as we go
Yeah,
along, that would
I
be great
suppose so.
too.
Yeah,
Mostly twos here.
mostly twos. Okay. All right. And one more. Um, so I know how to use the query loop block. So if the answer is yes, you can go right now. No, stick around. Don't leave. But I'm guessing that you're here because you're going to be, some of you will hit the number two and number three options. So why don't you type those in now into the chat box and we'll do a quick tabulation as to the instant poll here.
Yep,
Yeah.
one of each so far. David says 1, Mickey 3, Robin 2, Rick says 2. So again, mostly twos for this one.
Okay, good. And hopefully not too many ones and lots of threes. Okay. All right. Just a quick little intro on me. I am Bud Kraus. I am at joyofwp.com. Oh, please like me on Twitter or follow me at joyofwp because I'm the least popular person on Twitter. And if you follow me, I will follow you back. This is yes, it's a picture of me and my grandson a year ago. So he's more than a year older now since then, and he is going to have a little baby brother, his first one, in March. Anyway, enough of that stuff. Yes, I do WordPress training, as you might imagine, and I do some site work as well. All right, so what are we going to learn today? First, just what is the query loop? And I have a feeling some of you will know this, but I'm going to go over this just in case. Number two, and by the way, before I forget to tell you, I have a vision impairment. So if you've been with me before, you already know what that means. If this is your first time with me, you know what that means. So no, you don't know what that means. So it takes me a little longer to read stuff. So anyway, how to use the query loop block to create a blog archive page. All right, we'll definitely see how to do that. Also, how to use the query loop block to build a category archive page template. That's going to come towards the end. And the last thing I'm going to do is talk about and show you the comments loop block. Now, technically, the comment loop is not part of the query loop, but I thought, heck, let's just put this in there at the end anyway, because the concept of using it is very similar to the query loop. All right. So Marcus, this is you're quizzing me. So this is a good trick question for yours truly. Of course, I know the answer. So
I hope so. All right.
yeah.
So quiz for you, Bud.
Yes.
True or false? The query loop block can only be used in a block theme as part of full site editing and not in a classic theme.
Well, that's actually a double no. In other words, you can use the query loop block. Number one, the query loop block, while it is used in full site editing, and I'll get into that later, really has nothing to do with full site editing. It's just a block, which means it can be used not just in block-based themes, but also in classic themes. Now, what do I mean by block themes or block-based themes? These are newer themes that have been out for about a year or so now, growing slowly in number, that are different than what we now call classic themes. And how are they different? They fully support full site editing. What is that full site editing? One of its hallmarks is the ability to create every aspect of every page only with blocks. Okay. In other words, not just the content area of a page, but headers, footers, sidebars, all elements of a page can be developed inside of full site editing, and more specifically, templates. And I will show you that as we go on. A classic theme is like the stuff that we've been using for years that doesn't have this feature, and it requires us to do some custom coding in order to develop templates. All right, and so the answer to that question is you don't need, that's a long-winded way of saying you don't need full site editing, you don't need block themes. You can use the query loop block anywhere in any theme because it's just a regular block. And Marcus, question number 2 for Bud.
All right. True or false again? The query loop block can only be used for blog posts and not for pages or categories.
Oh, I'd love to ask everybody that question because the logical answer is, isn't it just part of the blog and posts and stuff like that? The answer is, yeah, that's the logical answer, but it's not the correct answer. The correct answer is the query loop block can be used for pages and categories and all kinds of content other than, or post types, other than just posts. So that's kind of interesting. All right, and I'll do a little demo of that in case that's not totally clear. At least I hope I'll do a demo of that. All right. All right, now I call the following, and by the way, this is not going to be a whole day of PowerPoints. So just a little intro on Power. I use PowerPoints for a little intro. I call these the magical blocks. You can see every one of these starts with the word post. And why do they call them magical? Because they're blocks. Each one of these, some of them are used quite a bit with inside of the query loop block, but they pull pre-existing or content that already exists in your database into a template that you use for your site. Again, I will show you this if you're not sure, but some blocks are sort of like static. You just put content in there like paragraphs, headings, images, stuff like that. But some blocks are very dynamic, like these magical blocks that pull dynamically content from the database to populate it in a template and thereby on a page. All right, let's have a look. Somehow I knew I was going to get to this sooner or later. Oh, by the way, stick around. Don't leave. I've got some goodies for you at the end. I would not leave without goodies. We always have goodies in my presentations. So I don't think I'm going to need that. I'm just going to get that out of the way. And I can get rid of this. I think, can I get rid of this, Marcus? No, probably not. And we'll
No,
get rid of this.
yeah, leave that other one up.
Yeah, I'll leave everything. Yeah. Okay, so what is query loop? Now, not query loop block, of course, but just a query loop. And here's my Joy of WP site. And I have a blog. And I don't write enough. But anyway, here is an example of query loop. Now, what does query loop mean? Well, a loop, let's start with that, is a repeating pattern in WordPress. In fact, I like to think of the term query loop as something that only a developer would love. The rest of us, like me, who can understand what it is, I'm not a developer. I'm not a programmer. I develop websites, but I don't consider myself a programmer. Um, a loop is a repeating idea that goes over and over and over. Well, what repeats over here? Well, in this case, a featured image, the title of the post, an excerpt, and read more. And then it goes on and on for another one. You get the idea. Here's the category to which it applies. And so that's the loop. But what does query mean? Well, query is an ask. So when the user is pulling up this page, you're asking WordPress, you're querying WordPress database to build you this page, to build you this loop, hence query loop. Now, full disclosure, I didn't use Gutenberg for this page. I did use Elementor, but it doesn't matter because we can now use Gutenberg to make pages very similar to this without any code. And that's the beauty. Up until recently, without the query loop and things like that, but without the query loop, you couldn't do this without code. All right, so let's put this aside. I'm going to close this down. And let's take a look at our demo site for today. Oh, by the way, I went to, if you like Italy, this will be a double treat because I went to Italy recently to take pictures for today's presentation. So, well, that's not 100% true, but you get the idea. And before I dive into the demo site for today, let's just take a look at what's going on here. So you need to know that I am using WordPress 6.1, and it's not quite ready. In fact, it won't be released until I think November 2nd. So it's coming out really soon. There are changes over the current version of 6.0, but that's not for today's discussion. Today, I just want you to know that I'm using a version of WordPress that's about 2 weeks from now. That will be, although, and I should say also, what I'm demonstrating today really, well, actually, that's not true. Some of the things I will be demonstrating today, I think you could only get in 6.1. So why not show you what's coming? All right. And the other thing too, if you don't know, probably some of you do know, how am I doing this? Well, I'm using the WordPress beta tester plugin, and that's all there's to it. I would not use this on a live production site, but just for messing around and seeing what's coming, it's really nice. All right. I want to show you. Now, I mentioned in the quiz that Marcus read to me that, let me go back here, that you can use the query loop block regardless of the theme that you're using. Let me prove that to you. So currently, I'm using this block theme. It happens to be called block base, so it's kind of obvious that this is a block theme. But I want to switch this to this old classic theme called 2017, near and dear to my heart because I used it for years in class demonstrations, not so much for building sites, but for class demos, because there was a lot of goodies in it at the time. And I'm going to activate that theme and show you now. So this is not, this is an old theme. Okay, it's a classic theme. And I'm just going to go to a page and just show you real quick. Let's just do add new. And let's just call this test. Okay. And let's put in, right over here. I don't know why I'm having trouble here. Yeah. Oh, I know why. I think I have my narrator thing going. How about that? We need to put that to sleep. So, ah, isn't that funny? Okay, not so funny. I don't know why it turned on because I didn't tell it to turn on, but let's just go over here. Right. Okay, now we should succeed here. And, right. Let me just type in slash query. All right. Now, I get an option here. They're very similar, actually. One is to choose an existing pattern for a query loop. I'm just going to click over here, and I get this pre-built pattern that I could use. I'm not going to use that. Actually, for this demonstration, I am going to use this. So I'm going to use this, and I'm actually going to just apply. And so you can see I have the query loop working for me right inside of a classic theme. And if I wanted to make some changes, well, let's just look at list view. And you can see query loop over here. And query loop will always have the post template block inside of it. Now, you don't have to worry about what's in the post template block. Just make sure it's always there, but it will be automatically generated for you. So not to worry. And here's the good stuff. So the post template block, which is inside a query loop, has these, in this case, predefined magical blocks. And if I want to make any change, for example, let's say I don't want a spacer over here, so I just click in the spacer, I can just get rid of it. Or more likely than not, maybe I'm going to take the post date and just move it up over here to the top. And you'll see now for all of these, the post date will be at the very top of the entry. See that? Post date. Here's another entry, post date. Here's another entry. And with the query loop toolbar, let's highlight this. Okay. And with the query loop toolbar, I can turn this into a masonry type layout. Now, all the stuff you couldn't do unless you were doing coding until quite recently. So now I can do masonry, and I can also go over to here. Let's go over to the cog, and you'll see it says query loop, and I've got some settings over here. And what I'm going to do now, currently the style is being inherited from the theme, and I'm just going to leave that alone for now. That's no big deal. If I wanted to add more columns, I could do that. And we'll come back to this in a little bit when I do another demonstration. But here's the idea, and that just the takeaway for this point of the demonstration. I don't need to use a block theme. I don't need to use full site editor. I could just use query loop right now as is if I want to use that into my pages, which is great. So you're not stuck anymore with what the designer of your theme set up for you to display a blog archive page, which is what you're looking at here, is a blog archive page. I mean, if you don't believe me, I'm sure you do. But if you didn't, you would see, I don't blame you. So why don't I see anything? That's not good. Maybe I need to save this. Publish. It shouldn't have to be, but, well, that's lovely. That's a fine mess. Well, that's not really what I wanted to see, is it? Let's just take a look this way. And like I said, I'm not going to spend too much time. If we can't get this to work, we can't get it to work. But I did this before, and it worked like a charm. So view, and it's not showing up. So go figure. All right. But believe me, it will work with a classic theme, even though I have failed to show you that it works. All right, let's use a block theme and really dive a little deeper into the query loop and full site editing, and keeping in mind that they're not the same thing. And they're not, I mean, they're used together, but they're definitely not the same thing. So let's go back to appearance. Maybe I can come back to it and figure out what's going on here. Themes, and because I don't want to get stuck on that and we won't get to the good stuff. Here we go. And remember, you can answer your questions at the end. So block base is the theme I want to use. Notice who made it. It's automatic. The company responsible for the development of WordPress. You know who they are. Most of you probably do. So it's an automatic theme. And I am going to activate it now. All right. And let's take a look now at something that you won't see in classic themes, and that is the theme editor, or just the editor, or something that people just call full site editing. All right. And if I go over here, so I wouldn't have any of these options here with a classic theme. So only with full site editing. Again, one of the core concepts in full site editing is that every element of your site, navigation, header, all that stuff is done with blocks. I think it's great. The only thing is there's a learning curve. It takes some time to put all the pieces together, to learn all this stuff. At least it did for me. And WordPress is still changing, and it's still crystallizing as to how all the stuff works. And so it does change, but once you understand the core ideas behind it, it doesn't matter how it changes. You understand the framework of how it works. All right, so I'm going to go over here to templates. And here's the thing that's most important to keep in mind. Every page you see on a website, whether it's the home page or the blog archive or a single post page or a 404 error page or a search page or whatever the nature of the page is, it's controlled or set by one and only one template. Doesn't mean a template can't be used on multiple pages. Of course it can. But whenever I see a page, I'm thinking, what template is being used for that page? And now every theme will have some different templates, but every theme will have basically some templates that are always going to be there. So for example, now I should tell you, here are the templates over here on the left side. If you see a little dot over here like that, it means yours truly has already done something to alter that template. And what's kind of cool too about full site editing is if you don't like your alterations, it's sort of like a suit jacket. If you don't like your alterations, you can take it back to the tailor. Well, in this case, you just click the three dots over here, and you could clear it. Now, I don't want to do that, okay? And as you'll see later on, we're going to create our own template too. So stuff's really powerful. It's just learning how to use it. And the key things are, let's just take a look at some of these. Let me just look at myself. Yeah. Okay. I'll get back to the archive in a second. Let me just do this. The index template is the template that builds the blog archive page. That's all it does. Is the blog archive is located there. If I click on it, we'll see this is the blog archive. And every one of these elements is created by blocks. Now, I'm not going to get into editing all this stuff because it takes time to do all that. Actually, I do a webinar that's very similar to this, but gets more into detail on designing your website with WordPress. Okay, so you have index, single. Of course, it'd be nice if they were a little more specific. Really, it's single post. So whenever you see a single post page, that's what this is. So this would be part of the blog, okay? Over here, page is just a regular page. And in the case of this, it's also the home page too is over here. So this is page. And this one over here is when I create an archive page, other than the blog archive, I could use, and I did use this template over here. Real quick over here, we're going to get a little deeper into this in a second. These are template parts. And I've actually created, in this case, my own header. And you can see with the header, I also added a navigation block. I'm sure you might remember, it used to have, you would go to a separate page for widgets and a separate page to set your menu. The idea is forget about all that. Now you can create, and we'll do something with this towards the end. It's not quite ready to do that, but I'll show you how you can add a link into this, into the navigation bar that I've already made. All right, now, I gotta look at my notes here. So I don't have everything. Yeah. All right, we're going to show you how to use and edit the index template. So let me go back here. Let me go to templates. And currently, let's see. I don't know why. Let's, right. So currently, let's just take a look at this. This is sort of like the standard blah, blog, blah, blog kind of design. And I want to change this. Well, remember, this is the home, if you will, of my blog, the blog archive, which means that's the index page. So all I want to do is just something really simple. And I'm going to go into here and let's go into list view, of course, and to go into query loop. So you can see how this is built. I've got that new header, which I made myself. Okay, and at the bottom I have a standard footer that, you know, but right over here is the meat of the potatoes or meat of the story. Now, one thing that's really great about the query loop block that you can't do now, if you're using like just the old classic editor, you can't put content. In other words, like content above and below the loop. You just couldn't do it. It's just not, you could with coding. So in other words, if I wanted to put right above here, let's do insert above or insert before, and I wanted to paste in some content. Well, I can do that now, or I could paste in images, videos, whatever. So I don't have to have just the blog archive anymore. I can, you know, add content above and below the loop really easily. Actually, I could add content within the loop, but I'm not going to get crazy and do that. What I do want to show you though is if I'm in the loop, and let me make sure I'm in the loop and I'm in the group. So here's the group that goes around the loop. So you can see the paragraph is inside the loop. Okay. But I want to go over here to where it says post title. And let's just take a look at this in a little more detail. So post title, I want to make sure, so I go over here, post title, and I want to make sure that the title has a link to the actual post. So that's up to you, but it would make a lot of sense to have that clickable. What about if I clicked on over here? This would be the post featured image. Same thing. So if I didn't want this clickable, I could take this out here. So each one of these elements, like for example, here's post excerpt. Well, I go over here and look at what are my controls over here. Maybe I want to put in a background color. So I do. So I just say over here, background color for that. And you'll see that not just that excerpt got highlighted. Oh, I see. I see what happened. All right. So you're seeing, aha, good. I made it a little goofy here. So you see what I stuck this in here. I wanted this to be above the query loop block. Well, it's not. It's below. So what's the remedy? Just drag it up over here. And should be trying to think if I got it taken care of. Yeah, and that's exactly what I wanted to do. Before I actually had it in the loop and it was just repeating. So I took it out of the loop and put it up over here. And I don't know why I don't see it. Well, maybe it's over in here. Yeah. So now it's in over here. All right. Anyway, I don't want to get caught up with too much with that. What I do want to show you is that all of these elements, going back to the query loop, can be changed. You can change the background, you can change the text link, all that stuff. And if you, like, for example, let's go down here. If I just highlight over here, it's either post meta, right? And inside, now look at this, post meta is in essence a group. If I click on that, I've got all these, well, here's a group, and inside the group is a row, and inside the row, it's like one of those toys that just get smaller and smaller. But that's what it is, boxes inside of boxes or blocks inside of blocks. And if I wanted to change something around, for example, I don't want the post dates over here. I actually want the post date to be right above or right after post title. So there, I just changed it. So this is really nice because you can really maneuver this around and make it, if you're used to like a page builder, like Elementor or Divi or Beaver Builder, this is very similar to that, but now you're doing all this without any page builders. It's just native to to WordPress. I'm just checking on the time. We're doing okay. And I really, I like this. If I didn't quite like this design, what I could do is go back here to the query loop and change this to masonry, which I sort of prefer. And if I wanted to make a little bit more of an adjustment, I could change the layout. I don't want it to inherit from my theme. I want to take that out. And I also want to make sure that this is, well, it looks like this will be okay. Let's just publish or save this. Okay. And we'll go over here and hopefully things will work. Okay, they did. And you can see it looks a little better than the standard. Of course, I wouldn't keep it like this. I might say, well, I'd like to make an adjustment. Let me just pick on one of these images over here, which would mean all images, all right? So I want to make sure I get to the right block that I'm working on. And that's really the key. Of course, one of the great things about this list view is that you can navigate right to the piece of content or block that you want to change. In this case, I want to change the post featured image. And I'll look over here and I'll see these are relatively new controls or settings that you can now use in 6.1. I think some of this came out in 6. I lose track. When did this come out? But let's say I want to look a little border radius over here. So I want to round the corners. And you can see, of course, it's not going to just be for one image. It's going to be for all the images. And we're going to save that. And we'll have another look. And yes, and you can now even set the dimensions on the right and left hand side, so it doesn't have to. This looks even goofier, but you get the idea. And you can set now margins over here to the left and right, and it's pretty good. We're getting there. All right, now what I want to show you. What is this? Okay, so this is really important. So I screwed up. So I want to figure out. I don't want this to be above the header. Okay, that's really strange, but it is. So let's make sure. Yeah, this is not, this might make it better. Yeah, I'm going to just take a look. Sometimes yours truly is learning too. This is all, yeah. And now where did that paragraph go? I don't know. Now you might be wondering, what about setting, see, it says 1, 2, let's see, it looks like I have 3, 6, 7 posts. I'm not going to worry about what happened to this paragraph. I'm just going to knock it out and take that out. Okay. So where is this being set? Well, if I go to query loop, and I think they changed it. It used to be, maybe it's over here now. Well, I think it can be adjusted in the in your settings in the reading section over there. How many posts you want to display? They changed this. It used to be where you can set it right here. Okay, so that's the sort of the general gist. All I did was change something that was basically already existing because it was an index template. And of course, the index template is responsible. The only thing it does is set up the blog archive page. But what about doing something that's a little more advanced? Okay, and that is, let's just take, and we'll just save this for now. And let's just take a look at our site. All right, and right over here, so I have about 9 or 10 posts on this dummy site. And these are categories. And if I click over here to scenes, so you can see this, I didn't change, this is a category page. And yes, it's an archive, but by changing the index page or the index template, I didn't touch this, okay? Same thing with this over here. I didn't touch anything. But what I'm gonna do is add a third category, design, and set that all up. Using query loop. So I'm going to go over here, and for this, you definitely, now this, up until now, you didn't need, well, even though I used index, yeah. Let's just say this one, you definitely need to use a block-based theme. So I am going to go over here, and this stuff's pretty new. I don't think this is in 6.0, but it's definitely in 6.1. And then if I click on an archive page, oh yes, this is what's new right over here. So you can say, well, no, not author. If I click on categories, I can say, I don't want all the categories, because all the categories would be just what the blog archive is, all the categories. I want to use a specific one. And the one I want to use is called food, because I already have scenes and I already have Arlene, but I don't have food. Sorry again about my chair. I really keep saying I need to get a new chair. I need to get a new chair. And what's kind of nice and a little bit on the newish side is that when you make the selection like I did, WordPress will now populate this template to give you something to start with. Before it was just like blank and you'd have to start building the query loop from scratch, which some people might like. And if you do like that, let's do it. So what I'll do is take out the query loop right here and oops, not that. We'll just take it out. And we're doing, let's see the time. Fine. Usually I'm pressed for time. We'll have a little extra time, I think. So what I'll do is, yeah, I gotta remove everything to do with query loop. Let me see, remove, and then insert after the, right here, we are gonna start from scratch. Okay, sort of like how it used to be, but just to give you a better idea. No, not a quote. Sorry. Although the quote block has gotten a little bit of a revision. I don't want to do that. Sorry. Where are we? Not good. All right. Let's start this again. And let's get rid of all of this. Remove. And now insert after, and right here. All right. Reloop. Now, again, I get the choice of choosing what's already existing, sort of the existing pattern. But here, I am going to start from blank. And of course, you're really not starting from blank. You're starting from, some idea of what you'd like. So I'm going to start with this one over here, which will basically look a little familiar, but it is different. And what I want to do is just look over here. Oops, let me just open this up a little bit. And again, post template. And inside of post template, we've got the featured image, post title. Let's say I'd like to have that post title above the featured image. I want the excerpt below. I want to take, so you could drag and drop each one of these blocks, but it's just so messy that it's just a lot easier to do it this way. Pagination, okay. The pagination itself, yeah, I should show you this, is something that you're only going to, it's always going to be at the end of the page. And up until now, there's no way of really changing any of this. So if you wanted, for example, you can see you've got previous and next and stuff like that. Well, let's say in all the pages itself, let's say I just highlight this. And here's a little move tool right over here. I can move this over here, or I can move this over here. And of course, I can style it any way I want. Perspective pagination. Right. So I could style it any way I want with the usual styling controls on the right-hand side over here. Anyway, back to the query loop. And I just want to see what we have here. Now we have post title, post featured, post date, and I am going to stick in right after featured image. I could do anything I want, but I am going to insert, let's do this after, and let's do slash post. No, that's not what I had in mind. Everything's not functioning today. Okay, and you can see that the magical blocks, they all have these little lines usually. Usually they have these little lines, post featured image, and so forth. I am going to use post excerpt. Again, all of the, whenever you see like one of these post blocks, the content is already created. Okay, it's already in the database. You're just pulling it dynamically into the template to be used for your site. And I am going to use post, what am I using? Post excerpt. Okay. And you can even probably display back to over here anything you want to change that's available over here. Now, what's available also is going to depend on the theme. So these options are really very theme dependent. There might be like how many words you want to limit to your post excerpt. I don't see that here, but another theme just might have that. Okay. And I'm going to leave it just like that. And just like this. All right. And let's look at the site and see where we are. Now, nothing really happened because I created this. Let's take a look at what I created here. And now you can see I created this, okay? And it says, I don't know why it says not found, okay? But it says category food, okay? So I want to attach that page to my navigation. Well, I said I would show you, and now is the time. And there's a couple ways to get to that navigation and change it. But what I'll just do over here, I happen to know that it's a new header. And I'm going to click on blog and the down arrow. Now they've there's a technical word for this, but I can't remember what it is. Re-architected, but it's not the right word. To make it easier, and it's not really that much easier because you can see that the toolbar covers up the UI over here. So to me, they still have some work to do. And you can see the drop down sort of behind the navigation bar. But if you click on this plus sign, you can now enter in the page or category or whatever you're looking for. So I happen to know it's called the food category. So let's see if this will work. I can see these are all pages. Oops. Yeah, but not food. These are posts. I want the category. So this is a way you can link into your navigation, but I know it's it's a category archive page. So I'm just going to put that in there. Put this in over here, save this over here, have a look. Let's refresh. And I go over here to food. Now, I don't really like, this is like, whoa, this is like a little too much, right? So let's just edit this for a second or two. See, that's what's so nice about working with the templates. And you'll see when you start working with this stuff, most of the time is going to be spent after you create your content. It's going to be spent in the templates, at least when it comes to design. That's where you're going to be living. So, yeah, right? So let's get this in a little better shape. I will go click on the query loop. And the best way to do this is let's at least get this into some kind of masonry grid, right? And over here, and let's see if I got that right. Okay, and you get the idea much better. Let's also see if we can apply to the query loop right over here. I don't want to inherit anything from the theme. What I want to do though is I'm looking for something that doesn't look like it's here. All right, now by the way, filter, what does this mean? Yeah, so you can change some things. I'm not really, is this filters? Yeah, I'm not exactly sure how this means. Oh, one last thing before I talk about the comments loop. So I mentioned before, let's just get out of here. We'll save this. I mentioned before that you can create, let's just start. Let me just see how I'm going to do this. I'm not going to demonstrate. I'm just talking about it. Remember, I mentioned that you can pull for a query loop. It doesn't necessarily have to be blog posts. Everything I've shown you is blog posts, but it can be pages. In fact, let's see if I can demonstrate it over here. So index, and this might or might not work. And if it doesn't, then we're not going to do this. But yeah, it doesn't give me the option here. Well, let's just see. Yeah. Where you can, instead of pulling in post content, you can pull in page content. And right now, I don't. Let's just see over here. Here we go. So post type currently is a post, but I could switch this off to pages. And now you can see these are the pages of my site. Now, I don't know exactly why you'd want to do this with your pages. Page content is very different than post. But here's the point. They're starting to blur the difference between pages and posts. What's the difference if you can do this? This is going to work just like a blog. So I'm not really sure why WordPress is going in this direction. I'd have to ask one of the geniuses, why is this? But anyway, that's the idea. So it isn't just, and I'm assuming eventually it'll probably be all post content, whether you have custom post types or media files or whatever, you'll probably be able to do this with. But it doesn't make any sense to me why they let you do this. All right, last thing, and then we'll do a little wrap up and questions and answers and stuff like that. Let me just show you a single. So single meaning the for a single post. Now you just ignore this stuff over here. I don't know why that's okay. You've seen this a million times. So like at the end of the post, usually the single post, you will have right over here comments, the comments. And I want to make sure I'm in the right spot here. All right, here we go. So comments, if I fold this up, you'll see, is just loaded with all these other blocks. And what's really nice is that, again, not until recently, in fact, very recently for this block, you had to use code to change any of this, and it would drive me nuts. So I'd have to really, I don't want to spend time writing a function and this and that. Why do I have to do this? You don't have to do it anymore. So if you want to organize this in any way, like for example, comments title. So I click on that and I can see, again, before I go any further, I want to Alexa, turn off alarm. That's for me. This is not part of the query loop. Okay. So, but it works a lot like the query loop in that it's a loop that pulls content dynamically from the database. It's the same idea, except instead of for the posts, it deals with the comments. And if you want to change stuff like here, you can see, okay, responses. Or you want to change the background color of the text or anything like that. Now, you might also want to say, I don't want this gravatar to show up. Can I do something with that? Well, so this block is called, this is a row. I click on gravatar, so our avatar. Let's say I don't even want to display it. Surprised they don't have it. Well, maybe I'm missing it. I don't think. Yeah, I'm not sure. Oh, you want to make it bigger or something? Let's see. The space. Yeah, you can see. Yeah. Anyway, I'm not going to get too much into that, other than the fact that, like anything else, you can move stuff around. So this is kind of a complicated construction because you can see, columns have column blocks, and then inside of that, you've got more stuff packed in there. Here's one that I like that's kind of interesting. Post comments form. So rather than have all of the comments first and then the post comment form, we could just drag this up over here and put this over, let's say here. Okay, so now leave a comments is right after the content of the single of the post, and then leave a reply or leave a comment over here, followed by the responses. So this is really fantastic because, again, all I just did is drag and drop the name, and away I went. That's it, really. I just went over comments. Let me show you my goodies, okay? And this is the time to text in any questions, and we'll get you done around. Well, it's I actually didn't run out of time for a change. So, all right, what a pleasure. So, let me show you. I have 3 things that you might want to check out, and Marcus, you can text chat in all the links. Okay, so because obviously I can't do that or I can't show this. All right, number 1. So if you are, I'm sorry that this is all stretched out too. It really is terrible, but I didn't have time to make it nice. If you're new to WordPress, which I don't know if you are new or not, it doesn't sound like too many people are, or, and this is more important to me, apply to people, are really thinking of, hey, I really need to learn Gutenberg. Hey, I really want to use Gutenberg now and I want to switch over. I've been using Elementor or I've been using Classic Editor, and now is the time for me to learn Gutenberg. And you're coming in at a really great time because you can actually now design a website with WordPress. Breaking news. So that's really good stuff. So I am doing a live class that starts on the 8th of November, and there's 2 classes, and the other class finishes. The second one ends a week later, and I've taught this class many times. So this has got a very set procedure. I've taught it for businesses, for organizations, for whatever, and this time I'm doing it for just me. So by doing that, I get to really lower the price, which I like. And ta-da! You're going to get 25% off, which is really nice. This is the code. I think I put this in the link to, or the stuff for, I did. I put it in for the chat box. So you could take 25% off of that, and it's time to enroll if you're interested, or get in contact with me if you have any questions about it. But I love this class because it's hands-on, it's all recorded, you get to ask questions, and we build a website from A to Z, start to finish. All right, number 2, if you don't want to do a live class, which is more fun if you ask me, and more valuable, I do have on my Joy WP site a course it's a recorded course called Using Gutenberg. Now, this isn't a step-by-step, this is pre-recorded videos. Most of them are pretty up to date. I'm falling a little bit behind, but they really show you, how do I use this block? 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 And what are some design ideas and stuff like that? So you might want to check that out. Don't forget, there's a 35% discount on this. So you get 35% just by joining today. And last, before I do the last, the Using Gutenberg course has all these different modules. So you can see I have a module on full site editing and stuff like that. All right, last, the first of my WordPress group therapy sessions, and I should say not just, I was going to say the next and first, is going to be November 16th at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. And this is really simple. You just go to my website, sign up for it, tell me what your problems are. This is group therapy, and I'll know before the session. And yeah, of course, with group therapy, it's like anything else. We're going to work together, share ideas, solving problems together. It isn't just going to be me talking. So if that's something that really interests you, hey, now's the time to sign up. And with that, it is time for questions and answers. Marcus, what do you got?
Well, I will provide the questions for you.
Now, I
come up with some answers.
That you're coming up with, or that people asked?
A little of both.
Okay.
Both. First things first, I just want to kind of hammer home the query loop block in concept, right? So, as a developer for an agency, a few years ago, I would build lots of sites for doctors' offices, and we would have to list the doctors on a page somewhere. So I'm thinking, I can have a doctor custom post type and have all their information on that, and then I can use the query loop block to list them all on a site. Is that essentially kind of what I could do in concept, in theory?
Yes, you can. So
Awesome.
each doctor would have their own page.
Mm-hmm.
But if you wanted to present them in an archive-like format, in other words, we want to, like feature doctors or doctors in a certain area or whatever, the query loop block could be used exactly for that. You're right.
Awesome. Yeah, that's great. That's what kind
Yeah,
of what I was thinking and wanted to
yeah,
just, throw an additional. You talked a little bit about it not just being blog posts,
that's
and
right. That's a
wanted
very good
to
point.
kind of
Right.
hammer that home as well.
Yes, and let me reiterate, that is, you don't have to stick to the traditional WordPress blog posts. When you're using the query loop, if you're using a theme that uses custom post types, or you're just creating custom post types maybe by yourself, or you're using the custom post type UI plugin, you can break out of sort of that restricted idea of just blog posts and do what Marcus just talked about, like for doctors as his
Yeah,
example.
yeah.
All right.
Okay, we have a couple of questions that were left in the chat. David asked a couple of questions. I'm going to ask you the first one here. The second one I think is a little bit more specific to David's situation,
So
and I would
David
recommend,
contact. Yeah, so you can
yeah, I
contact.
would recommend he to reach out to you
Yeah.
or go to the therapy WordPress
Yeah.
session and get some help there. But the first one that he asked is, after filtering by category, can posts be arranged by something other than alphabetically or
Yeah.
chronologically? Those
Yeah.
seem
I
to be
did.
the only choices he
No, no,
sees.
no. I didn't show you this, but yes, you can do. There are other. Now, without code, okay, the answer to that question will be determined by your theme. So some block-based themes will have, uh, maybe you could filter by latest post or most recent post or A to Z, Z to A, date published, that kind of stuff. More sophisticated and complex filtering methods would probably have to be coded. It would have to be,
Hmm.
unless it was done in the theme itself. So yes to the
Okay.
filtering. Yeah.
Yeah. Couple more here. We're just about out of time, but let me ask a couple more. Can I put more than one query loop block on a page?
Yes. Why not?
That's
Yeah.
yeah, just one of those things where I've seen it with other
Oh, wait a minute.
page
I mean, of
builders
course,
where,
each query loop stands on its own. So could you have more than two query loop blocks on a page? Why not?
yeah, I
Yeah.
agree.
Yeah.
Sometimes WordPress gets squirrely, but you should be able to. I see no reason why you
Yeah.
can't add
Right.
two separate query loops on the same page. Um, do you have any resources that you recommend for following what's happening with the query loop block or just block development in general?
Yes. Okay. I am glad you brought this up. Please, you should follow our good friend Birgit Pauli Hawk. Would you agree, Marcus, that she's our good friend?
Yes,
She's our good friend.
100%.
Yeah, she has this thing called the Gutenberg Times. So just Google Gutenberg Times, and you can get her newsletter, which does this kind of stuff. And you can listen to her podcast called the Gutenberg Changelog. We love her. She's the best. Nobody, and I don't think well, I shouldn't say nobody, but as far as keeping the public informed of what is going on with Gutenberg, I don't know anybody better than her.
Yep, 100% agree. That's the one that came to mind for
Yeah,
me as well.
yeah.
Um, if I'm building, let's think about this from like an agency or freelancer side. If I'm building these for clients, is there a way I can lock them down from being modified?
Uh, Not the way you want yet. Okay,
Hmm.
that's coming. In the meantime, check out the plugin called Block Visibility, and that may get you there without any code. But
Okay.
a more robust way of locking down blocks, native to WordPress, is coming. It's just not there yet. They're getting there, but it's not there yet. So like I say, in the meantime, use Block Visibility.
Yeah, I'll look up the link to that and make sure that we get it added to
Yeah,
the
Block
notes here
Visibility is
as
really
well.
good. Yeah.
Um, last one here from Henrietta. And I don't know if this kind of overlaps with some of the things that you talked about towards the end there that you offer. Do you have a series on building the site from scratch or how to build custom templates?
Well, do you mean building custom templates like with like either low code or no code? I'll ask you that question.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly what Henrietta's
Because in
what
my
her angle was, but I think probably along the lines of full site editing and editing, templates within
well,
full site
I'm
editing as well.
definitely going to be doing that in my live class. Now,
Okay.
it'll definitely be building templates without code or maybe low code. Okay, I'm going to do there's a lot of really good stuff that you can do too. That's very low code. Like if I say just paste this and paste that, you
Hmm.
know, So I mean, it's not no code, but it's very low code. So I love low code.
Yeah.
I have to say that the longer we go down this path of the no code world, my coding skills are getting worse and worse and worse. No, and I hate that. I mean, I hate it, but
Yeah.
I also love the fact that there's ease of use, and from my perspective, the question is, what do I want to do? Do I want to get a message, an idea, a business, something launched, or do I want to play around with code? Which one do I want to do? And it becomes pretty obvious
Yeah. Get to
as an
launching.
instructor. Yeah. So
All right, that is all of the questions that I have. I left a link in the chat as well for our GoDaddy Pro community page. We have a post for each of these meetups where we can continue these conversations. And if anybody has any more questions, feel free to hop over there and ask them. We'll be in there over the next few weeks or so, and try to answer any questions that anyone may have. Also, we have a couple of events coming up in a few weeks. One is about security for this holiday season for your commerce sites, and the other is our pal Courtney Robertson will be doing WordPress 6.1. So
oh,
I know you talked a little bit about WordPress
must see,
6.1 in
must
this
see,
one.
must see, must see.
Yeah, she's gonna
Okay,
let us
yeah,
know some of the new features and
great.
updates and stuff as well. So those are all at events.godaddy.com. So go there to register, and then you can see all of our past events there as well. This one will be uploaded there shortly after it ends, and I will make sure that we have all the links to all the things that we talked about in the show notes there as well. That's it for us today. We're a few minutes over, but that's not too bad. Thanks again, Bud, for coming on and
Marcus,
sharing about the query
thank
loop
you.
block.
Thank you. And thanks to GoDaddy Pro, too. I really appreciate doing this.
Anytime, Bud. Anytime. We love having you on. Thank you all for joining us here, and we will see you next time. Bye bye.